This video is sponsored by Squarespace. We all love upgrading our bikes, don't we? We just can't help ourselves. And I've been at it the last week with 3 products that have transformed my gravel bike, taking it from an okay bike to an awesome bike. From a suspension stem that gives more comfort, crazy lightweight wheels with string spokes, and a brand new tyre from Panaracer. I put all the upgrades on the $3,000 Vecnum GS1 carbon gravel bike I reviewed a few months ago. And when I tested that bike, it really impressed, but I knew it had potential to be so much better, and I really want to improve the comfort. These upgrades aren't focused on speed and reducing my watts, but improving the ride experience, more capability and more fun. So I'm David, you're watching Just Ride Bikes. Let's dive in with possibly the best suspension stem I've ever tested. Now, despite obvious jokes about 90s Gerwin flex stems, suspension stems have become really popular on gravel bikes over the last few years. And the Redshift has been a super popular choice, but does have a few downsides. It's a single pivot design, so the handlebars rotate as you go through that suspension travel, and changing the softness or firmness requires disassembling the stem to change the elastomers inside. Now, this Vecnum from a German company might look like it's falling off a tractor, but solves the 2 issues with the Redshift. Because it has multiple pivots, it's a parallelogram, the handlebar simply moves up and down. There's no arc to the handlebar. You can also adjust the preload with a small Allen key with no disassembly required. And it's those changes and the performance on the trail that, for me, make it the best suspension stem I have yet tested. Now, I know the suspension stem isn't pretty, but my golly gosh, it works so well. Feels way more natural than the single pivot Redshift. The handlebars don't rotate when you ride into a bump or over a crack in the road. So yeah, apart from the looks, which you kind of forget about after a while because you're looking up there and not down there, unless you're Chris Room looking at that, but you're looking up there, aren't you? So you don't really see it. You sort of notice it working in terms of it smoothing out the bumps and the ruts and all the other imperfections, trying to jiggle you around. You get 20 millimeters of down travel movement and 10 millimeters up movement, which prevents the stem topping out when you go through a massive hole. It doesn't twang back in your face. And the stem can easily be adjusted for rider weight from 50 to 120 kilos. And once on the bike, really, you don't notice it working at all. There's no bob, there's no real lateral flex when you're sprinting out the saddle. You just notice there's less vibration coming through the handlebars when you're smashing down a rocky trail faster than you can with a fixed stem. Just stops the handlebar moving around so much and isolates you from all those rocks and roots trying to throw you offline or throw you off the bike in the worst case scenario. Sadly, there is a weight penalty for the stem despite the use of titanium hardware, but the weight doesn't really bother me because the smoothness, the comfort and the capability the stem gives to hit rough trails faster more than makes up for that weight for me. We'll talk more about how a stem rides in a few minutes because now I want to talk about tyres. That's because tyres make or break a bike for me. This Vecnum GS1 shipped with 40mm wide WTB Volpine tyre, so great on smooth dirt and champagne gravel. But for the riding I do here in the UK, I wanted 2 things: more width and a chunkier tread pattern for the mud I more than often have to ride through. So I've been trying these, the brand new, fully refreshed Panaracer GravelKing tyres, which so far have ticked those boxes. And way back in 2014, when I started riding gravel here in the UK, the GravelKing tyre was a very good choice, primarily because there weren't many tyres to choose from. But since then, gravel has matured, evolved and changed a lot. The bike's got better, bigger tyre clearance, and there's now a lot more tyres to choose from. So with an entirely updated range and new tread patterns and new casing designs, they might be worth putting back on your shopping list if my first impressions are anything to go by. So the brand new X1 has an all new tread pattern that I really like and does work well for the conditions I ride in. Down the middle, we have a nice closely packed design to ensure fast rolling, but then more widely spaced blocks on the sort of shoulder edge and gives a nice balance between the speed you want when riding in a straight line, but then that sort of cornering reassurance when you are leaning the bike over through the sort of looser corners you might have to deal with. They certainly give more confidence on some of the chunkier trails than the rapid WTB Volpines I have been riding recently on my Specialized Crux. Now, Panaracer has apparently changed the bead design, and I found installation on the wheels a breeze with just a normal track pump, no faff, no issues at all, as easy as tubeless should be. And air retention has been excellent too, with no issue with air loss during a week or two of riding. And the profile of the tyres has been redesigned as well for wider rims, because when the Panaracer GravelKing first came out, rims were super narrow, but now they're up to 25 and beyond. If you value speed above all else, it's not really a tyre I would recommend, and Panaracer does have better options in the range if you want a nice semi-slick option. And if you want a grippier tyre for super mud, there are better options there as well. But if you want a fit and forget tyre that will be plenty fast enough in a straight line on pavement and fine dirt and give you reasonable grip through looser conditions and in the corners, then my impressions of the tyre so far, based on the riding I've been doing on my local trails, give me the confidence to say this is a really good choice, and definitely puts the Panaracer GravelKing back near the top of the shopping list if you are in the market for a tyre that can work well across a range of mixed conditions nicely. And touch wood, I've not had a puncture or slasher tyre or anything like that, but I'll keep riding them, do a long-term test, so stay tuned for about 6 months' time when I give my long-term verdict on these new tyres. Since we're talking about upgrading, isn't it time that you upgraded your website? Well, with today's sponsor, Squarespace, doing that couldn't be any easier. That's because Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that gives you all the tools and features you need to build a website for any purpose. From running an online shop selling cool bike products, managing online courses, running a newsletter, starting a portfolio to show your work to the rest of the world, whatever your requirements, Squarespace has a solution for you. And building a website on Squarespace is really easy as well. You can choose AI to do the whole process for you, or start with one of the many amazing templates, customize the look, the color, add photos, plugins and tools as you need, and hey presto, you can have a website up and running in a few minutes. It really is that easy. And best of all, you can try it before you buy it with a free trial linked down below. And if you enjoy it, there's 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain name by using my special code on screen right now. Okay, on with the bike upgrades. And finally, I've just begun testing these funky wheels from Berd, a US company. So this is just a first impressions. A long-term review with more of a focus on durability will come in the near future. And a fun side note for you, Tom Pidcock used a mountain bike version of the wheels to win the Olympic mountain bike gold medal. Pretty awesome. Anyway, so the wheels look fairly normal until you get closer to the spokes, which are not metal. They look like string. They're made from a polyethylene nylon string type material. And the big advantage, other than looking funky, is the weight. These wheels are crazy lightweight. The entire wheel set with valves and rim tape is 1,112 grams, which is easily the lightest gravel wheel set I've ever tested. For comparison, these DT Swiss G1800 wheels, which I've been riding recently as well, are over 1,800 grams. So a massive difference, 700 grams thereabouts for just the wheel set weight, which is pretty insane. The low weight is helped by a carbon fiber rim that weighs a claimed 265 grams with a nice 25mm internal rim width, so bang on trend for current wheels and wide tyres, with a semi-hook design, and we have the company's own aluminium hubs in the middle. These are SRAM compatible, but you can get Shimano ones as well. And like I said, they do mountain bike wheels, but these are the Gravel, the Sparrow wheel set. So naturally, I guess you're probably thinking they're fragile, flexy and noodly, which I thought it might be as well, to be honest. So to find out, I went for a ride the other day and tried to find some of my rockiest, roughest trails here in the Cotswolds and really put the wheels through their paces. And guess what? They didn't explode into a floppy tangle or loose spokes, and they stayed in one piece. And I was actually blown away with how good they felt. They do feel really, really good. And that low weight on my entry-level Vecnum GS1 made a big difference on the climbs, whether on the road or off-road. Losing 700 grams just like that makes a noticeable difference. And the bike just felt more agile, more responsive, and just came to life in a way even these G1800 wheels, which are an upgrade on the stock wheels, didn't give the bike. So the weight is something you notice straight away. But weight isn't the main story here. Well, not the only story anyway. The company talks about how they offer a smoother ride. Now, assessing compliance and comfort when you bounce down a trail with a fat tyre between you and the ground does make it tricky. But I rode down the same trails the week before on the Vecnum GS1 with these DT Swiss wheels, and the difference from these wheels to these wheels was noticeable, shockingly noticeable. You really feel an extra layer of smoothness, floatiness when riding these wheels compared to a aluminium wheel set. It's hard to put into words how it feels. You have to try it to really get a feeling, because it's quite subtle. And the difference isn't black and white. It's not like riding a rigid mountain bike versus a full suspension mountain bike down a rocky trail. It's not that sort of difference. It's similar, but just you have this extra layer of smoothness. Just feel the bike sort of floating over the rocks and roots more fluidly, more easily, and there's less sort of vibrations, less impacts coming through the handlebars, the pedals and the saddle, the main contact points on the bike. So definitely less jarring, less chattery, and just made it a nicer experience. So yeah, quite impressive results actually from these funky looking spokes. And I've got to say, I love how the white spokes look on this bike as well. Pretty rad, aren't they? So first impressions on the wheels are that they haven't fallen apart and they aren't floppy or noodly, and they do give the bike extra smoothness. And so far the toughness seems to be what I would expect from a more conventional wheel set like these, and no real downside in terms of kind of flex, whether sprinting out the saddle or really charging into rough sections. But I do have question marks about the durability, because I can see a few tufty bits already appearing around there. So I do have concerns, whether valid or not, about that long-term durability. So I aim to keep riding them and just see how whether that changes over time, whether I have any issues. But before making this video, I looked around and read some reviews and some other videos of people who bought these wheels, especially on the mountain bike side, and have been riding them for the last year, 2 years. And from what I see, the feedback does seem pretty good. Couldn't really find any real negative bad reviews. So let me know if you have any experience of the Berd wheels, spokes on any other bikes. And stay tuned for a more long-term in-depth review very soon. So out to my local gravel ride, putting these upgrades through their paces, and currently riding the Foss Way, which is an old Roman road, goes right down to Bath, worth riding if you're in the area. And the upgrades, the changes I made, have really improved the performance and the comfort of the bike. I mean, it was a good bike to start with, but going from a 7 up to a strong 9.5. The biggest improvement is the comfort. The bigger tyres, those mad spokes, and of course the suspension stem. So when you're riding over rough gravel, broken roads, dealing with all sorts of imperfections in the surface, trying to jiggle you around and jolt you offline, the bike just smooths it all out. And it's a much more pleasant experience. Definitely good improvement. Really happy with how these changes have come together and made a big difference. And so far impressed with this Apidura hydration pack. Been a long time since I've used a hydration pack when I was mountain biking, but this one so far pretty good. I got 1.5 litres of water when I started with that much water, and it's not heavy at all, and it conforms to my body shape really nicely. Just 2 straps along the front and adjustment on there. Well, so really comfy. Really sort of down on the hoods, it's really nice and comfy. So yeah, really impressed so far. Got a pocket for my waist there and a big pocket there for my food. What I'm eating today, let me show you. I have some of these Rocky bars. Probably not the best in nutrition, but they are tasty. So yeah, really happy with that so far. A bit further into my test ride today, and these wheels are pretty immense. First impressions are, well, super lightweight, which definitely helps the weight of the bike when climbing. It really does make the bike feel much more alive than it did with the stock wheels, which are quite heavy by comparison. And the spokes definitely give a slightly smoother ride. There's a noticeable extra floatiness over rougher tracks when you're dealing with rocks and you're sort of bouncing around. The wheels do feel like they are helping you in terms of smoothing out the rough tracks and stopping the bike bounce around so much and help you carry speed over rougher ground. So yeah, quite a strange sensation, but something I'm starting to really enjoy a lot as I progress through this route today. Alright, almost back at the start or the finish. So let me wrap up today's video. And I'm super happy with the changes and the products I put on this Vecnum GS1. Definitely made it faster, smoother and more capable. There will be more in-depth reviews of the products on the channel over the next few weeks as well, but my main takeaway would be don't be afraid to experiment with your gravel bike. Customize it, tailor it to the riding you do and your personality, and there is no right or wrong. It all goes, it all works. But my main bit of advice from this ride today is tyres, especially if they don't suit the riding you have on your doorstep or aspire to do. So go wider, definitely recommend going wider. No real downside at all, just all sunny uplands. More grip, more comfort, more control. So go as wide as you can, run low pressures with tubeless, and that really is the easiest way, the most affordable way to transform your gravel bike from average to a super bike. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video and more content like this on a regular basis. And I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.